Boom! I'm here. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight, the final Tokyo Tonight of 2015. I'm very bright here at the moment, aren't I? Let me see if I can do something about this light here shining straight at me. I hope you're all well. I'm good. It's been a good week. I'm going to take this off. So yes, the reason I am 5 minutes late is because I was really pushing really hard to try to get through and finish editing, which I did, the end of the Tokyo of the Japan Business Time series with Rochelle Kopp. It's actually funny, the video editing didn't take much time, but I really wanted to make it look nice this time, so I've been spending a lot of time on the titles and the finishing and all that sort of stuff, and yeah, it looks really, really cool, so I'm stoked about that. And I literally just finished right when I should have been starting the show. That's why it took 5 minutes to go late. But we are here, we bring the boom, we are arrived, it has started. It's good to see you guys. Also, as a result of me frantically trying to finish the editing on this thing, because I'm going away to Australia, which is a reasonable speed internet free zone, of course. I won't have I learned last year the hard way. I recorded a bunch of videos and I couldn't even upload one of them just because the connections in Australia in general are crap, although the one at my house, of course, is also crap on top of the crapness of Australian internet in general. So I learned my lesson. I'm not planning to upload any videos until I get back. So I'm going away on Tuesday the 22nd. I'll be back on the 2nd. I'll be enjoying the lovely new direct flights that have just re-established between Brisbane and in Tokyo. So that is awesome. No having to go through Korea anymore. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But yes, I will be hanging out. So this will be the last show for 2015. It would be nice to look back on 2015, but I'm not that organized. I'll probably prepare something, a review while I'm on vacation. I'll make that my reading. I'll figure out what were all the best things of the year, and when I come back I'll probably do a reflection on 2015, and even today I might talk about some of my goals and some of the awesome stuff for 2016, of course. Some of my goals and thoughts ahead. I've already started making notes about that, but yes indeed, I am this is going to be the last one for today, and it's going to be a regular show. I also didn't prepare a track for the end. I've got a couple of tracks that I haven't actually recorded yet. I could even make something live at the end of the show. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I should make something, or do you think I can show you how I make stuff lately? I can make a really simple track of some sort. That might actually be kind of fun, just for the end of the show. We'll see how I'm going for time. I just realized I have to go and quickly shut the door over there as well, or else I'm going to get banging on the door. So 1 second. Alrighty then, we are set. This is sorry, it's panic as usual, but it was for goodness. It was for goodness. Barringer, I'm sure. Yeah, I know that there is actually. I've been corrected on this. There is good internet in Australia, allegedly, just not in the area of where I happen to live. Well, at least where my mum lives when I go back, and we'll be spending Christmas in the hot summer, which will be nice. So yes, I see people misbehaving there and talking all sorts of stuff. Also saw a few new names in the comments tonight, which is very nice to see. Always nice to see some new people and some people saying hello. Bizgit551, don't you know it? That's right. That's going to be me. In fact, actually, I went and downloaded the new DJ app from Algorithm. I've always had both of the DJ apps that they have, but now they've got a full-on. I mean, I still love the Tractor app from Native Instruments, but the Algorithm Pro thing, with you can see the waveforms and everything, that looks pretty intense. I'm going to be learning that, although I'm really going to be learning iMachine over the Christmas break anyway. Let's just quickly check out who is around, because I saw some new names. So okay, it's already gone from the top. It's already cut off at the top. But Dan N, kia ora. Indeed, kia ora. Dan N. And I asked where you're watching from. I don't know. But nice to see a New Zealand with a New Zealand greeting. KTL, great to see you. Alan Dick, yes indeed. I'm sorry, I was using. Well, yeah, on the last episode, I was not. It wasn't personal the way that I was describing people. Sorry about that. That's right, New Zealand is indeed the fastest country in the world, of course. It's 4 hours ahead of Japan. Namaste, great to see you. Wildfire777, great to see you. Is there someone from Scotland? Someone asked. Yuichi Chuba says, so epic, which of course it is. Another kia ora from Wildfire777, which is awesome. Who else we got here? We got Light Japan from down in Saga. Indeed, I remember that, and good to see you, sir. Ben Duncan, hey Ben Duncan, I've actually got one of your tracks, which I just put on the intro and outro on one of the episodes of Japan Business Time, and it sounds fucking good, pardon my French, but it does the whole, I mean, the music of You and Nonbiristo and Chito Wakarang and Folk Heart I put in, as well as my own music. So I've got the full Tokyo digital crew rocking. And by the way, I've been told I'm not allowed to buy any more shirts of my own design making. But fuck it, I'm going to find a way, because I'm going to make some shirts for Tokyo Digital Crew. One, just because the label looks awesome, and two, well, that's definitely one of my goals for 2016 is to, I want to see what I can do in terms of my own skill set and working with you guys to take that to the next level. It'd be kind of awesome to put something out, like, a proper album of some sort, even like a proper video. And I really want to look at things like getting like a vocal, and I want to see how far we can take that bit of fun there anyway. But because damn dudes, Nonbiristo, Chitomo Akaran, Ben Duncan, Foghart, and you, dude, your music sounds awesome. I mean, I love it on my. I was having too much fun editing. You know, editing's going well when you're having so much fun that you're actually putting off your live show and making everybody wait, right? So that's a good sign anyway. Mr. Cordy Chip, great to see you. It's 40 there. That's like, if you're in Australia and you mean it's 40 degrees, or do you mean you're in Fahrenheit, in which case I have no idea what that means. Oh, I'm in low power mode. Oh, I'm not actually. Oh, okay, it's just there. So yes, Hiko is love, Hiko is life. I'm glad you think that, Ellen. Thank you for that. Who else we got here? Good morning to you there. 40 degrees, I don't even know what that is. It's like 5 degrees or something, right? I think 32 is 0, but I don't understand. That's right, starts to like, whoa, being very friendly there. Hemingford Gray 62, good to see you from Milton Keynes, okay. KNS TV, great to see you back. And Nippon Culture Quest, awesome video maker as well, someone who I also want to get onto 2.5 Oyajis, although the next 2.5 Oyajis in the new year will of course be Jake Knowlton, but a long line of people. Oh, by the way, got to shout out the Stew in Tokyo farewell party last night. It's a shame, man, that guy's got some serious like charisma going on. It's amazing how he's been able to gather friends. I mean, he's made some awesome videos, of course. He's a really cool guy. I don't know, I mean, for me he's just one of these types of people that I just click with right away. And he seems to do that with everybody. He's just got a knack for that. And yeah, we just had an awesome farewell party in the same place that we had the big YouTube party, actually. I just called up the owners, and they love us. So they just said, yeah, we'll give you the VIP, and same deal. And it was easy. And yeah, it was a great party last night. We kicked up the karaoke and the VIP, and that was awesome. So yes, there were some people there as well from who are probably on here as well. But who else we got here? We got Nippon Culture, Kang and Kodis, great to see you. Sorry, I'm skipping through quickly now, so I might miss people. Bada boom. Yuichi Tuba, of course, great to see Yuichi Tuba. Good to see you making videos again as well, man. Yuichi Tuba is awesome. Go subscribe to him. Barringer, of course. We got Phoenix787, of course. We've got a question. He actually named one of the topics on one of the episodes that we've got. Gabe B, great to see you. It's your last night in Tokyo. Oh, tonight's your last night in Tokyo. Okay. Pocket Wi-Fi, too slow to watch. Well, I'll try to go as slow as I can. Hopefully my connection will also hold up tonight. And what else we got here? Speeding up. Barringer, Yuichi Tuba, Alvat Verstandig. Great to see you as always. Good to see you back. KT, good to see you. And I think, boom, are you making videos again? Well, I saw you making videos with Phoenix, right? Or you're making, I didn't get a little bit drunk. I had a few kamikazes, that's what you're supposed to do. But I did have a little bit of a sore head, but I didn't get drunk. Jeez, Phoenix. But that's it. I mean, I hardly drink anymore, actually. So, yeah, I guess it's a bit like that. But you wear sunburn at night. I do wear sunburn. I did not take my shirt off this time, although, I guess that's something to look forward to for the next party, isn't it? So that's already 15 minutes talking about my sunbird and my naked body. So let's get into actual topics, shall we? Yeah, main thing is look out for the... one, I am going to get this all uploaded. I have to put it into the approval, vetting process and so on for all the videos that I shot in the space for Japan Business Time. It is awesome. It is so good. Of course, Rochelle is actually probably the world's foremost authority on intercultural business involving Japan, and I get to have a casual conversation with her where I get to swear, and we have great anecdotes, and we talk about all these situations that anyone coming to Japan is going to run into. And the first season I was conscious about trying to get as many topics as possible, and we kept it short. This season we made the topics, we let the topics breathe. We talked for like 10-15 minutes sometimes on each one. The conversations were awesome. I mean, just like I say, it's just so much fun to edit it. I couldn't get away from it. That is going to be uploaded before I go away to Australia, and it will probably go live. I'm going to set it live in the new year as a weekly thing. I think it's going to be Wednesdays, because if you know the song, Wednesdays of course are business time, and that is when we're gonna have business time anyway. Every Wednesday. Bizkit 551. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not. And you know what? Actually, I have been losing weight a bit lately. I've been dieting, but it's going to be pointless at the end of the year, of course, because I'm going to be eating lamb when I get to Australia. But when I was kickboxing, I was getting into regular shape, and another New Year's thing is that I think I do want to get back into the old kickboxing because it is damn fun. And but no, I've never been kind of ripped. I just like to be functional. But thank you for suggesting. I'm sure I do. Yeah, the guns. No, not really. I've always been a beanpole. Yamamoto, hello. Hiroshima, indeed, great to see you. Is there Zactor here? I don't know. The Master, who is another guy that I met. Maniata Sashiburi, indeed. Nice to have lunch with you, sir, the other day, and that was very good. And great to see a good crowd. And sorry, we are going to get into the topics now. It's like, okay, some bonus time there. So the topic, the links that I've saved, that I'm going to share this week is. First one is I've been watching the original episodes, getting the lad ready so I can take him to new Star Wars movies and buy lots of Star Wars stuff. I haven't seen the movies yet, no spoilers please of course, but I am going to go and see them when I'm in Australia. To get him warmed up and into it, I showed him the original movies, but of course at the moment the only ones that you can download are the ones that, George Lucas slightly raped in 1997 and 2003, I think, when he remastered them and made Han shoot Greedo first and changed the colors and put like digital crap all over stuff, like huge Jar Jars everywhere. And I don't know, I kind of like the crappy old special effects. Hey, Azuki Island, great to see you. The funny thing is, actually, I've seen some interesting things about, look at this, Naranagi, a great guy who I've also had lunch with and got to hang out with, and good to see you, sir. 071, good to see you. Yeah, good to hear that Damasa's got a job, so that's pretty awesome. Okay, yeah, you owe me lunch, dude. It's just an excuse to me to catch up again at some point. But hey, Key in Japan, it's another awesome person there we have commenting. So okay, sorry, focus. So anyhow, I watched the first three movies, the original three episodes, 4, 5, 6, and they were kind of awesome. But I got a little bit thrown by some of the things that were different to what I remembered. So shut up, Mr. Cordy Chip. Go wash your mouth or hands or whatever you are using to express that expression. So yes, we go before George Lucas went and screwed it up. The thing about George Lucas is that he's always been a science fiction geek, and apparently I remember hearing an interview with Ron Howard, who I always think of as Richie Cunningham from Happy Days, saying how his first conversation with George Lucas was, you got to get into CG. Because CG is great because you can just put what's in your head directly on the film without having to go and explain things to actors or anything like that. And, which was kind of the point is for Lucas, he doesn't like dealing with people or the humans. When CG got to the point that he could create Jar Jar Binks, that's when he wanted to make the prequels, because his whole idea was be able to make the movies and the image the way that he wanted without needing to deal with people. And of course they sucked. And this is the thing. I mean, he's obviously just not a people person. And the reason the original movies were awesome is because of the interaction, the characters, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, they brought to life the characters. And when you see these awesome kind of reworks of the prequels and how they could have been made more interesting by Belated Media, I think it is, what he puts in that's missing is exactly this. It's the figuring out ways to have Ewan McGregor competing for the love of Padme and sort of, or with Qui-Gon or whatever, or just making it more interesting. And that's what's missing. And again, the way that, the changes that were made to the original Star Wars movies were not doing anything to make them more interesting. So that is the time in Japan right now. So yes, they were kind of crap, but anyway, I'm watching them anyway, and they're still good. They're still much better than the prequels, but I am very much looking forward to watching the new one, and in the meantime, you should definitely go and watch the originals because they are awesome. The New Zealand flag thing, I think I showed this, I think I talked about this before, but for what it's worth, It was decided, of course, that there's going to be two phases of the referendum. Because I've been away for more than, if you're non-resident in New Zealand for more than 3 years, you lose the right to vote, and I don't go back very often, so I'm not registered in New Zealand, so I can't vote, even though I do want to vote. I do want to get rid of the British flag. Just nothing against Britain, lovely country, but New Zealand is a country now, and black is the color that all of our athletes wear in sports, and the silver fern is the symbol that we have on nearly every sporting uniform. It's what we associate, with our as a national symbol, more than the British flag, for example. Which, that's a naval insignia that we have. And the Southern Cross is like, well, the entire Southern Hemisphere can see the Southern Cross. It's nice to keep the red stars, although I don't know why they're red, other than to look slightly different to Australia. But most kids can't tell that much of a difference. So for me, this is the design that I wanted. I'm glad that it won. There was the first round is that there's an election to pick the flag to go up against the existing flag. The second round, between the winner of the first round and the existing flag, these two flags, is going to happen in February, apparently. I really hope the new one wins, but according to polls in New Zealand, people don't see the point in changing the flag. They're not into it. Kiwis are really conservative and boring people. I've said this before. I think I said this last week, but I really do like the new one. The cool thing about the New Zealand passport is it's got an awesome fern design. Whenever I pull out my New Zealand passport, customs in Japan and Korea and Thailand also, whoa, New Zealand's got like the coolest passport, and it does, and it's because of that design. And it's a black passport. So, I know people don't like the Prime Minister and they think it's a personal thing with him or whatever, but, I really hope that we do take this opportunity. It'd be kind of cool if we could change our flag ahead of Australia, because, we've always been a bit weak compared to Australia when it comes to asserting our own identity. Australia's always been better at it, but they just haven't gotten their stuff together. It'd be kind of cool to beat them. But anyway, this is the flag that I wanted. This is the flag that I would have voted for and that I would vote for in the upcoming referendum. And it will be interesting just to see. This is kind of a personal thing. I uploaded the track which I made as the outro from last week, Rewind. I called it Rewind Unwind. I like there's one little part of it I'm not that happy with actually from the whole thing, although I like of the 5 tracks, I like 4 of them a lot, and one of them I might still want to tweak one day, but the track came out really, really nice, and it was nice to do that one on the show last week, and it came out really awesome, so I uploaded that. Of course, you can go and download all my tracks for free and use them on your own videos or video games or whatever. Not enough Ewoks. You need some CG Ewoks, I think, would be good. Is the vote mandatory? KNS TV asked about the New Zealand thing. No, New Zealand doesn't have mandatory voting. We tend to have turnout of about 30 to 40%. It's pretty low. But there again, the population's so low that votes do actually, and given that we have pure proportional representation in New Zealand, or mixed member proportional representation, it means that we, your vote does actually count in New Zealand, so that's pretty cool. But we'll see anyway, and indeed maybe it will fail, and maybe people can gloat, but we will see. The track was pretty cool. Hey, Travis Moore, good to see you. Sorry you got to go. Peanut butter. I'm a big fan of peanut butter, so that is true like Japan, that there is enough craft peanut butter, and I do eat that stuff. Although I once got salmonella from craft peanut butter in Australia years and years ago, and it took me about 10 years of having no peanut butter before I could get back into it. But given the lack of butter here, I don't really have a choice. A rainbow kiwi would have done you. It would have done me totally. I would have totally gone for a rainbow kiwi. But we have the choices that we were given, and that's what I would choose. Next story. This is not so much a story. This is just me complaining. I put this up on Facebook and on Twitter this week in so many places in Japan. So when Japan had the Kyoto Protocol, which I think was actually held during summer, and this whole idea that we need to stop using energy because energy results in burning of coal and so on, that causes emissions. So say protect the climate by reducing emissions, by reducing power consumption. All good. So in summer, Japan was going to show their commitment to the Kyoto Protocol, which was named after a place in Japan, by showing commitment to energy conservation, driven by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, which was that yes, Japanese would suffer through the summers by not using the air conditioning, or they'd set the air conditioning to 28 degrees, so it won't kick in until it gets below 28. 28 is pretty hot actually, and I get drowsy at like 26. Typically in Australia, or even like in China or Singapore, they tend to set the aircon at like 20 degrees in offices, or even less than that, like in movie theaters. Like you almost freeze to death in half these places. But in Japan, Japanese like to be hot, or at least there seems to be a thing that there are a lot of, particularly women, tend to really feel the cold, and they will complain of being cold even if it's like 25 degrees. So fine, in summer, save power, cool biz they call it. They open the windows or whatever, you get a fan or whatever, and you put up with the 28 degrees in the office. But the thing is, if they were really sincere about saving power, in winter they would also similarly tolerate cold, but they don't. In winter, the office thermostat is left at 28 degrees, and I've been in offices where you go into the office with a big warm jacket and a suit and everything like that, but when you get into the office, I have to take off everything down to like the business shirt and roll up my sleeves because they have the heater turned up to 28 degrees. And for me, the single toughest thing about working in Japanese offices, or the thing which I like most about working in a foreign company for a time, and now I've gone back to Japanese offices, what I struggle with most is it's hot. I actually it's really hard to concentrate and stay awake like in the afternoon after lunch when everything is up so high. So, I have to drink a lot of coffee and so on, and it's really tough, but it's something physiologically, it seems to be really different between Japanese and at least Westerners anyway. But you know what, even Chinese and Koreans, they kick the aircon, they keep it cold in the office. So I don't really understand why it is that Japan really wants it to be hot all the time. It kind of drives me a bit crazy during winter anyway. There's some questions there. The flag of Slobovia is available. Well, that's pretty good to know, 071. I'll recommend that to the Prime Minister. And, New Zealand's such a small country, I could probably call him and suggest it to him, and he might even take me up on it. And yeah, Americans do crank up air conditioners, so do Australians. In fact, you get sick in Australia because it's like 45 degrees outside and like 20 degrees inside, and going back and forth between aircon and outside can be really tough. Which I hear it gets like that in places like Texas and hot parts of America as well. Amish heaters are the best. I don't know what an Amish heater is, but I'm sure they are wonderful and probably a fire hazard. Amber, here's a public quiz question. What temperature is the Celsius scale and Fahrenheit scale reading the same number? That's a good question. So it's like you divide by 2 and subtract 16, right? Which means, I don't know, it would be like, I have no idea. It's a good question. Amber, I hope you put the answer in there a bit later. Hello there, Yorkshire, by the way. Blimey, that was quick. Was that quick? Do we have low latency today? I hope we do, because usually the latency here sucks. But anyway, that's pretty cool. Boom, next topic. 7 ways that cities will get better when driverless cars hit the streets. For me, this is like one of my favorite tech trends that, as you know, I'm always following now. What are the 7 ways? I just saved this actually. I just thought it's like driverless cars. But pedestrians and cyclists are safer, which is a good thing, and deliveries only happen at night. And I've talked about this, about the idea that you can commute or travel only at night, like when there's hardly any traffic, and you can sleep inside the car, which I think would be awesome. There's more space for people, which indeed, for Tokyo. Better accessibility for those with disabilities. I would presume that emergency responders would arrive faster, or that you would have built-in functionality to allow them to go through unhindered, which would be cool. Reduce travel times for all, which you definitely want in a place like Tokyo with the traffic jams and stuff like that. Clean the air and greener streets. It all makes sense. I can't wait for driverless cars to happen soon enough. I think this really works when it comes to when it comes to urban planning anyway. The irony is I love to drive. I'm from New Zealand. I love to, I was actually, a bit of a hoon. I love to put the foot down. I've driven at extremely illegal speeds in different places. But when you can do that, like when you can put the foot down and burn and drift and do all that sort of stuff, and I could drive from 15 in New Zealand. So, I do like driving, but, when you're in a place like Tokyo, you quickly understand it'd be nice to get driven around. Kangen Kodo's 21 is the best temperature to work in, apparently. I believe that. That's what I'd love to set it at, but you would probably get arrested for setting the thermostat to 21 degrees in Japan, unfortunately. Although, what do you know? Check this out. 21 degrees right now. I'm currently in the right temperature to work. Well, it is a bit cold. I got to admit, I got socks on. I'm protecting my feet because they do feel a bit cold at the moment, but there you go. There's an interesting Supreme Court case this week. Newsy stuff now. There was a challenge to the Civil Code of Japan. The Civil Code of Japan was basically translated from the Prussian Civil Code in I think 1880 something. It was like in the late 19th century during the Meiji Restoration, where Japan suddenly became modernized and very westernized, and they did it by just pretty much casting aside the pre-existing Japanese culture, which was very more egalitarian in terms of gender treatment, actually, than the Prussian. They imported German and British morality through the civil code and various sort of laws, which weren't really compatible with the culture. But Meiji was a very big driver of trying to masculinize and modernize Japanese society. So you have this civil code, which has not been amended once in 120 years, which is remarkable. There's been a challenge to two aspects of the civil code in Japan this week, which the Supreme Court in Japan made a ruling on. One of the aspects they found unconstitutional, which in itself is a landmark, which the government is now rushing to cover with legislation. The other they said might not be convenient, but it's not to the extent of being unconstitutional. And what these two things were. And there's a funny kicker to this, which is coming from my Facebook. If you saw my Facebook, where I talked about this on Facebook this week, you might have noticed I got trolled, which I got kind of a thrill from. So that's coming. But hang on. What is this about? The two complaints were under the civil code. The first one is there is a ban on women remarrying for 180 days, 6 months after they divorce. The reason for this is that the idea is that if a woman is until a woman is visibly pregnant, the idea, this dates back to the 19th century, where there weren't really paternity tests, or there weren't really ways to determine parenthood. There's a presumption under Japanese law that that a child is going to be the child of the husband, even if it unless proven definitively otherwise. So it means that you don't have a situation where you have two people denying paternity and someone without child support. That's the purpose of it. But there's also this idea that if a woman, for example, divorced, but then she finds out later that she was pregnant from the previous marriage, that she's not allowed to remarry, because she might want to go back and marry the husband again, or cancel the divorce or whatever. So there's a ban on her remarrying for the duration that it's considered in the old days that it's possible to be pregnant and not notice. So for example, you might, if you got knocked up right on the day that you divorced, for that 180 days, when you set that, I'm pregnant, the idea is you can go back and get married again. I think that's the general idea. The thing is, though, that, well, one, of course, it doesn't really cover for what happens with children from affairs, for example, possibly with the guy that you want to remarry to. Or what if you're divorced and you want to remarry anyway? Why should there be a prohibition on remarriage? What the court said is that the rationale for it is that they said 180 days is too long, but 100 days is okay, which is a bit strange, actually. But the government is now reapplying the standard. I guess it doesn't really happen very often. And frankly, even if it does happen, given that you can take simple blood tests to determine paternity nowadays, or pregnancy is so easy to detect now anyway, the fact that they still have a marriage ban at all is a little bit strange. But that's what that is about anyway. It's to do with this idea of being able to identify the paternity of a child that you became pregnant with right before you got divorced. This is the purpose of this ban on women remarrying. It still is gender biased. It still is completely scientifically irrational in this day and age, but that is what it is about. And the court found it was actually unconstitutional, but only for being too long, not for the actual ban itself. The ban, if you make it shorter, 100 days, they said it's okay, and that's what the government's going to do to fix it, which still seems wrong to me. It still seems like they should probably fix it and just do away with it altogether, if you ask me. The other ruling was maybe a little bit more interesting. Based on the family register. Japan has a family register system where Japanese citizens are registered from where they live, and it's kind of it's a bit medieval. It's a bit like the old Doomsday Book in Britain, for example, where families are registered, and basically, as people marry, they merged the family registries, and this was, in the old days it was property and family members, and everything was sort of, and people have to decide when they marry, are they going to join on the family register of the man or the woman, and automatically, based on which part of which they check, the man or the woman, and they can't choose either, there's theoretically an equal choice to this, then they will go on to that family register, and the surname will be imposed on all the children and the husband or wife. So there's no provision for joint names or for keeping separate surnames or anything like that. And, changing the surname is a big pain. It can be, having to go and change all your banking information. In Japan, banks are really tough on this sort of thing, for work, for all sorts of things. Having to change your name just as part of your general identity. The fact that this is kind of legally imposed, that you have to choose one or the other. And although there is theoretically an equal opportunity to choose, either name, apparently only in 4% of cases does the wife's name actually end up getting chosen. Which means that, in 24 times out of 25, the man's name is chosen, and this is probably, there's a lot of tradition, there's a lot of family pressure. And I'd guess that of those 4%, I know cases of the people who have taken their wives' names. In fact, even in my own wife's family tree, like a generation back, they actually took the woman's name. I think it happens for maybe 3 reasons. It happens because of in the old days, maybe because of the higher social status of the woman's family. It may happen because of a problem where, for example, well, maybe a similar thing, where a family is looking for an heir, a male heir, to take over the sort of the family business or the family line and carry on the family, the family name. Mr. Honda only has daughters, so someone marries a daughter, but they take the Honda name or whatever because they want them to take over the family business. The other one is just simple dislike of your own parents. I know some guys who have married and taken the wife's name because they don't like their dad, which is a little bit complex, but I suppose that happens, and yeah, why not? But there's no hyphen names, which have become very fashionable overseas, and there's no option to have separate names. The interesting thing around this is that there is an exception. If you marry a foreigner, we don't have a family register to merge with, so there's no automatic change of name procedure when you marry a foreigner, which actually means that my wife, by default, her name didn't change, and we did have separate surnames. The people who were taking this lawsuit, by the way, argued that that it was unfair and unconstitutional and gender biased, that it was forcing women to adopt men's names. It doesn't actually force women to adopt men's names, and that's kind of where the court landed on this. Theoretically, there are 2 mitigating factors. One, there is an actual choice, although granted they do acknowledge that in practice that it's almost always the man's name that gets chosen. And the second thing is an increasing number of companies, like 65% of companies, allow married women, for example, or married men, I guess, to continue using their maiden names, which does reduce some of the burden, but there's still a lot of inconvenience and hassle for the name thing. And the court said, well, we're not going to say it's unconstitutional, but at the same time, if you want to add another option, this is something that the legislators have to come and think about. And so they threw it back to Parliament. Parliament's not going to do anything about this because the LDP are very conservative, and they think that allowing people to have separate names will have a denigrating effect on the institution of the family. They're social conservatives, so they don't want to do that. The Democrats could have done it, but they didn't because they were idiots and losers, and everyone hates them for being such a disappointment. Hey, Laura, good to see you. But yeah, in any case, the Democrats look like they are going to table a legal proposal on reforming to allow separate surnames, but that's probably not going to happen for a while now. And it was probably the right decision by the court in any case, although it's a little bit disappointing that the court couldn't impose an extra choice. An update on the Korean Yasukuni shrine bomber. It turns out he has more or less now apparently confessed. He's admitted that he planted the 5 pipe bombs that were put in the shrine, which, as I mentioned last week, he was actually carried over the gunpowder and the bomb-making materials in a suitcase, which he carried with him from Korea twice. He did it twice. The first time, then he went back. Then the police knew who he was, and they told the Koreans who he was. The Koreans didn't pick him up. In fact, they let him get on a plane again with bomb-making materials again, and he came back to Japan, and they picked him up in Haneda with a suitcase with bomb-making materials, trying to come back into the country like a week after he left. I mean, obviously he's not very smart. But granted, he's been detained for a long time, and maybe it was a forced confession, but he's admitted to it, and it's kind of funny. Japan won't call this a terrorist thing, which really annoys all the right-wingers. And frankly, it gives the right-wingers kind of fodder and material for saying that the police are going too soft on Korea. But it is sensitive to sort of, the whole thing is a very sensitive topic. So they are treating it more like a kind of an arson or something like that. But this guy came over and he planted for the purpose of planting a bomb in what is a war cemetery. I mean, I know you have the endless arguments about and particularly the 14 Class A war criminals who shouldn't have been put there in the first place, but there are 3 million other people who are war dead who are commemorated there. Their bodies aren't there. It's not exactly a cemetery, it's more of a memorial, I suppose, a religious-oriented memorial. But it serves a function that, that most people in Japan have relatives who are interred there, and, to go and put a pipe bomb there, no matter, how much you dislike it. And the Koreans were collaborators. They were collaborators during World War II. They weren't fighting against Japan. There were some who were resisting, but by and large, Koreans were lining up and getting turned away from joining the military. And they were like the Estonians or the Austrians. Granted, it kind of sucks to be colonized and taken over, and I'm sure they were glad to be independent after the war. But at the same time, to come and bomb the shrine when I don't know, it's just silly. And this guy, how he got back in, anyway, it turns out he's confessed. So, end of story anyway. The one below, this was kind of interesting. I think I mentioned last week about this, and I had my suspicions, which seemed to be validated by the story. The pop group's management, Oh My Girl, Korean pop girl, pop group, K-pop group that got pulled up in America for being mistaken for prostitutes and being sent back to Korea. And this was the story released by their publicity, by their PR, by their agents, which I think is kind of, like, honestly, would you publicize? Is it really fair to publicize for your group that they thought that your group looked like prostitutes and sent them back? It turned out that story wasn't even true. It was made up by the management, because American Customs actually came out and said, no, they were trying to get in on tourist visas, and they had all of these stage props and stuff, which indicated that they were there to work and perform at this concert, which would be working. And their management got them the wrong visa. So the management, on top of screwing over their girls by getting them the wrong visa for getting into the country, which resulted in their denial of entry, tried to cover the story by saying that the victim girls were mistaken for prostitutes. I mean, who would want to work in show business? It was just horrible, but I thought it was kind of funny in a horrible kind of a way. It's not strictly Japan, but the K-pop and J-pop things are very similar, and the issues that they have and how they run are very similar as well. But yes, indeed. Like Japan, I didn't know that you were South African, actually. That's interesting. Yes, I've mentioned this a couple of times before about how Japan had the first widely accepted smartphones, real smartphones, and this is it, the W03, the Sharp phone, which even when this came out for me like 3 or 4 years late, but I almost got this, but I was kind of looking at this and saying, okay, we're going to have full computers and phones. And this is a classic. I just saw this the other day, and it was just kind of nutskashi for me, so I put that up there. And this is what I was talking about before. Resistance to separate surnames for married couples strong within the LDP, which means as long as the current government's in power, which is going to be for like another 10 years at least, it's not going to happen. Felix787, Sachiko says hi to me. Oh, she's lovely. Tell her that I said hi as well. Although I don't know if that's aimed at me or not. But yes, you love Ningen Isu, the human share. Why not? Wynando, Wayne. Okay, well that's pretty. Oh, wine. I get it. Okay, so that's for like Japan, and the surname thing isn't going to change anytime soon, so long as this is happening. And this is the thing about, again, the Korean toilet bomber admitting that he did it pretty much. The story down the bottom is kind of sad, but I pulled it up because it's kind of a sign of the times thing. I don't like to report crime stories. It's not my sort of thing. Tokyo Reporter, a good thing to follow just for sort of general sort of crime news and following. But this is the thing, when you don't have elderly homes and you don't have home helpers to support people with the burden of looking after like bedridden and sick elderly people, and this is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Sorry, commiserations on the rugby like Japan, but we have to win sometimes. Oh yes, Sachiko's going to make a channel. Okay, well you should totally. I'll plug her channel when she starts. So you should mention that, Phoenix. I'm getting distracted. Old people. So there is the because of the lack of home help and nurses and support that we take for granted, at least in New Zealand and Australia, for caring for elderly. And the idea that they retire, you put them in a home, and there are some really nice homes where they go and have these nice long retirements. But in Japan, they have to look after them, and because the current generation of elderly often didn't have more than like one kid, and those kids go away, it means that you have elderly people looking after elderly people, sometimes sick and infirm people looking after sick and infirm people, and you have cases like this. And unfortunately, this isn't unusual, but here we go. A 71-year-old husband strangled a 69-year-old wife because he was tired of taking care of her in terms of just medical care, particularly when bedridden. And sometimes this is a thing. They live for a long time, and it's a real burden. And this is why they are accelerating the number of foreign nurses to come into Japan to help look after all these elderly that don't have kids to look after them. But these cases of elderly, like killing their spouses or spouses asking, kind of euthanizing or whatever. Sorry. I don't mean for all the negative Korean news. It's just been a bad week for Korean. Well, it's been good. You can look at this one of two ways. So the Korean government, when they had the seawall, the big ferry sank a while ago, and there was a lot of speculation that there was some missing time in the schedule of the president as to where she was during certain hours in the immediate aftermath from the sinking. And some Korean newspapers speculated that perhaps she was with a male friend, and this is considered defamatory by the Korean government and by her personally. She completely denies it and says that this is defamatory content. But rather than attack one of the many Korean magazines and newspapers that were spreading these rumors that she was, on a date at the time, what they waited for was the Sankei Shimbun to basically reprint one of the stories that was going around in the Korean media, to reprint it in Japanese, and they singled out that foreign newspaper for a defamation case. And defamation cases in Korea are pretty serious. Like, this guy was actually put under house arrest and prohibited from leaving Korea, like, for almost a year or some crazy length of time. And you could see it was kind of clever in its nastiness, that it had a couple of effects. It had an effect of, one, it served as a really just bold threat to domestic media in Japan. Do not screw with the government. Don't say, don't spread rumors about the president or anything like that, because we're going to make an example of this guy, just to sort of show you. Basically, they were putting up using him as a scarecrow to scare everybody else, right? And they figured they could get away with making an example of this guy because he's from the Sankei Shimbun, and the Sankei Shimbun is of the newspapers in Japan, the mainstream newspapers in Japan. The Sankei and the Yomiuri are on the right. The Sankei is more on the right wing than the Yomiuri. And so the Sankei is like the main pro-Korea, the left-wing newspaper in Japan is the Asahi. And when the Asahi gets some of the credit from Korea and some of the condemnation within Japan for being one of the real instigators of the political agenda around the comfort women issue within Japan. They were the first ones to sort of raise in newspapers in Japan factually that the comfort thing happened and that there were abductions that happened for it. They have very controversial interviews, that some aspects of which apparently are disputed, from Japanese veterans saying that they kidnap women to use as comfort women and so on. And so you have Asahi, which is the champion of the left and champion of the comfort women cause for Korea within Japan. And the main newspaper that's been like bashing on Asahi, saying that's all lies, and you guys, and they actually found some sort of proof, which they've been going to town with the Asahi on, that the original stories were kind of fraudulent, is the Sankei. The Sankei has been the stalwart of the right wing in Japan and the anti-Korean. They're very harsh on the Korean government in general, and it's a right wing news agency. And so when the Sankei reprinted this story, which the government considered to be defamatory, it was like Christmas had all come at once, and they arrested the bureau chief for the Sankei in Seoul. And like I said, they kept him under arrest for nearly a year, and this trial went on forever and ever, and it got dragged out. He was eventually allowed to come back to Japan, provided he showed up again for the trial hearings, which kept happening and kept getting delayed. They finally had a ruling this week, and the good news is that he was acquitted. The whole thing, it turned out, was a complete waste of time and an abuse of the court process, it seems, and it was just intended to get some revenge against. It looks like now it was intended to get revenge against the Sankei and to threaten and quieten Korean media that's been getting very critical of Park lately. She's been getting terrible ratings within the domestic media over there. So some people say, well, this is great now that the burden of this is lifted, Japan and Korea can get along better and resolve the comfort women issue. That's a positive view. The negative view is, this is again acting unreasonable, and this guy, it's kind of not acceptable, and this is damaged relations. And I don't know, it probably is more the latter actually, and there's been a sign of this because I think it was also this week that the Korean and Japanese governments announced that their original plans, the goal set by Abe and Park when they met of resolving the comfort women issue within the year, is not going to happen, which is it's disappointing. Given that they were backing it. But Phoenix, you should go and read. Well, Vegemite, Marmite's New Zealand, Vegemite is the Australian one, but we like it all. I'm not really such a big fan myself, to be honest, but yes, it's healthy, good food from Britain, New Zealand, and Australia. Marmite, Vegemite. So anyway, on some other news, Grand Theft Auto Liberty City just came out. Liberty City Stories just came out on iPhone, iPad. I downloaded that. That's going to be my whole Christmas break. I love Grand Theft Auto, and I don't have a game console because I'm not allowed one, but I've got a mobile phone, so yes, I'm going to play this now. And so I'm still like 3 or 4 versions behind on Grand Theft Auto, but it still is the awesomest thing ever. And even GTA 3, I still think it's just like one of the awesomest games ever. And being able to play it entirely on my phone, I love. So just in case you didn't know, it's out there, and if you're into that sort of thing, go and download it, because that's what I did. Some criticisms that foreigners have about Christmas. I have some criticisms about Christmas that I'm going to raise here, but and they're different to the ones that are here actually. But here are the ones from Rocket News. It's a form of westernization. Well, again, if you want to come to Japan and for everybody to be, running around in samurai costumes or whatever, cool. But who really cares? I disagree with that criticism, but the people that they talk to apparently don't like that it's Western. It's commercialized. Again, I think commercialization. Well, I'm going to get to my point on this. And they don't know the real meaning because they're not Christian, and it doesn't matter. So, okay. I violently disagree with these. I mean, maybe people feel this way. Here's my view on Christmas, and I got a view on this. I have an opinion on this. I think Christmas is awesome, and the reason Christmas is awesome, and the reason I get frustrated with the happy holidays bullshit that it's like you're not allowed to say Christmas anymore. And you're not allowed to say Christmas because it offends people who recognize it as a Christian festival. But here's the news flash: Christmas is not Christian anymore. Christmas it's like kiwi fruit. Christmas is like kiwi fruit. Kiwi fruit was originally called Chinese gooseberry. It wasn't a commercialized fruit. It was just a wild fruit that grew around everywhere. New Zealand figured out that hey, if we commercialize this before anyone else, we can brand it. We can call it kiwi because we're all Kiwis. If we call it kiwi fruit, everyone will know that this is from New Zealand, and it'll be like a huge commercial boon for New Zealand. Because everyone will associate this fruit with New Zealand because we'll call it kiwi fruit. And what happened with kiwi fruit was kiwi fruit became so successful that people didn't even know it had anything to do with New Zealand. And when New Zealanders say that we're Kiwis now, I go to South America, they think we named ourselves after fruit. It became bigger than the origin, and this is what's happened with Christmas. Christmas is, just something which everybody goes and buys presents and has a few days off work if you're in countries that, have a holiday for Christmas. And it's a fun festival that people, even in non-Christian parts of the world, and even for the vast majority of people who are not practicing Christians, they call themselves Christians like they support a sports team, but they never go to church. They just support they just consider themselves part of that culture, and that's it. It's a culture, and the culture in terms of the secular, the commercial culture. I know Charlie Brown hates this about, he did an episode talking about, the people forgetting the true spirit and it's all commercial. I think the commercial aspect of Christmas, the Kentucky Fried Chicken and the dates and all the messed up misinterpretations of Christmas that we see in Japan, Christmas is a world unifying festival, not because of Jesus, but because of shopping. It's because of the secular commercialization of Christmas that allows it to be celebrated in Muslim countries, in Buddhist countries, in atheist areas, in communist parts of the world. Everyone wants Christmas. And in a way, when you start to prohibit people from saying Christmas, and you have to say happy holidays and be sensitive to every single festival that's happening at the same time, you're taking away the magic of this of this festival, which has transcended all of these different religions. And in fact, as Christmas, I think, has always been like a great advertisement for Christianity, because people think Christmas is like the best festival or holiday anywhere, and particularly in Asia, perhaps, where there's not so much tainting against Christianity to begin with. And that can be an entry point for people to be interested in the religion. But all these religious people saying, no, you have to celebrate it properly, through the religion. I think that's wrong. I think let it be something awesome that people recognize is, has its origin in Christian religion and culture, but it's something that has gone completely beyond that. And indeed, I see people talking about all the things above. I want to go back and catch some of these, actually. I know it's upsetting for some Jewish people. I have Jewish relatives, so we had to go and say Happy Hanukkah or whatever when I go. I didn't have no idea what it meant, but I had to say it to my Jewish relatives and so on. And you want to be sensitive and so on, but at the end of the day, I mean, nobody. Everyone thinks about it's like Thanksgiving in New Zealand and Australia. It's Thanksgiving without the racism, I mean, it's got a religious bias, but that's what I think is awesome. So the only thing that, for me, thinking of Christmas as basically like a Thanksgiving, what I find difficult about Japan is that Thanksgiving, as I've mentioned multiple times, it's the fact that everybody considers it to be a date night, and that's why I've got another article coming up that there are groups of people who have protests against Christmas, not for the religious reasons, but because they are guys who cannot get dates and they feel like it's discriminatory against them. This whole idea that, you know, Christmas is meant to be this huge date night where you're supposed to, I don't know, somehow Kentucky Fried Chicken got worked into it, and love hotels and everything. It got weird. It got really weird a long time ago in Japan. And by the way, Oyajis, they do celebrate Kwanzaa in Japan. Bayo McNeil is holding a Kwanzaa dinner, which he invited me to, which I would actually really love to go to, except I'm just not going to be here when it's on. But I know some Americans who celebrate Kwanzaa here, and I would love to actually celebrate Kwanzaa just because it sounds kind of cool. I used to have a Jewish friend in my last job, actually, an American Jewish friend who would just obnoxiously wish everybody happy Kwanzaa during Christmas. But for me, it is kind of interesting. But anyway, you know, just Christmas is just in Japan. I ran into trouble with this when I first started dating a Japanese person. I think I've told the story before, because for me, Christmas is a time to get people together, and, you know, people who aren't near their family, be family for them, whatever, or get together with your own family. Hey, Herb Toka, good to see you. And No Way Man, good to see you. But, you know, for Japanese, it's like a special date night. So I remember the first Christmas I spent with my first Japanese girlfriend back when I was like 19 or 20 years old or whatever, back in New Zealand. And she was furious after I invited a whole bunch of friends over, and they stayed late, and we had a big dinner, and had, you know, drinks and fun and talking, and they went home, and she was furious that I ruined Christmas. I'm like, how in the fuck did I ruin Christmas? And she said it was because it was supposed to be a special date night. I'm like, what the hell planet did you come from? You know, it's like, so yes, I mean, of course, but even then, I think it's still kind of okay in the sense that I do like the fact that Christmas is secularized. I mean, I was raised Christian. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or, you know, I certainly don't practice now, but what I like about secularism and the secularization of Christmas is that it becomes a festival which actually unites and brings together people across religious divides, you know, through commercialism, through dates, through Kentucky Fried Chicken. And to me, that's better, because honestly, I mean, you just have to take a look at the world at the moment. You know, religion isn't great at bringing people together, if you ask me. So I like what Christmas is. Well, I don't like the dating thing, frankly. I think it's gotten weird in Japan, but I do like secular commercial Christmas. That's me. Just out of interest, the most used apps apparently were Facebook, YouTube, and Netflix was the highest earning app this year, which I thought was interesting. This is the thing that I mentioned on the name change thing. There's a Reddit thread talking about Abe saying how Japan doesn't, you know, must look after its own citizens first before taking refugees. It's an interesting thread in the sense that most of the people on it are idiots, but it's fun to read. And they're talking about how racist Japan is, which is a bit off point, but I thought it'd be fun to look at. But we are nearly out of time, so I am not going to dwell on that. The article below, River Plate from Argentina, from Buenos Aires, I believe, they lost in a game tonight in the World Soccer Club Championship in Japan against Barcelona. Screw you, River Plate. I'm sorry, I love Argentina. I learned Spanish in order to go to Argentina. I love Argentina. It's like one of my favorite countries in the world. I love the way that they speak Spanish. I love Argentinian people. But a bunch of River Plate fans in like their red fan clothes and everything, where was it? Was it in Osaka? They actually went and physically assaulted and held down a convenience store clerk who's probably on minimum wage, while like 20 or 30 fans in club fan paraphernalia, these Argentinians went, knocked over a Family Mart convenience store, looted it, and beat up the clerks and went out. I hope they have cameras. I hope that they took facial photos from those cameras, and I hope when they try to leave the country, having gotten their asses kicked by Barcelona tonight, I hope that they photograph and they interrogate every single fan from that club going back through Narita, and I hope they catch all 30 of the bastards who did this, and they don't let them leave and they put them in Japanese jail for a long time and they make their lives hell, because shit like this, it got put up on Nichan, and they're like, this is why we can't take any more foreigners, which of course is knee-jerk or whatever, but at the same time, you know, like, and why? I could get it if you were going to like a rival cities, you know, and you wanted to go and confront and have like hooligan fights and stuff like that, and that happens in Europe. It's wrong, but I can get that. Why in the hell would you loot a convenience store in Japan when you're a River Plate fan? It doesn't even make any logical sense from a hooligan mindset, let alone, you know, a rational human being. These people are the scum of the earth. When I actually saw today, there was a group in Tokyo for the game today of River Plate fans. I saw them yesterday, and I actually tweeted, good to see they're not looting. And today I was out with my family, and we saw some, and, you know, my mother-in-law took my son's hand and crossed the road. when we saw those Argentinian fans. Screw those guys, seriously. Oh yeah, getting trolled. I'm sorry, Mr. Cordy Chip. I'll come back to that. On the family thing. So when I put all this article, I put my views on the thing with the family names and the marriage thing. I actually got an old reason than that. Sorry, I'm probably making you dizzy at the moment. So where is it? That's the party from Stu in Tokyo, by the way. It's a photo I took, so I'm not in it, but it was a good party. This one. Yeah. So this is a public thread, so anyone commenting on that knows that. It was just funny. It was I got told, after going through a lot of comments and having a lot of very intelligent discussion around this, random Yoko decided to come in and say hello, and she told me basically I'm a great disappointment to her. In fact, let's go through. So if you've got that much interest in Japanese culture, why you should properly learn Japanese history and Japanese tradition. Applying Western mindset. You'll never be able to understand Japan looking at it through a Western perspective. The system here is totally different. So, you even raising this topic is completely wrong. And basically, she always says this. She always says, study and, stop talking about Japan. She used to say this a lot anyway. It was kind of fun. I just said back to her, Yoko, it's good to see you. You sound really well. It's great to see that. She came back. You're not responding to me. You're a great disappointment to me. You look like you're going to be interested, but I guess you're not really interested. I said, well, look, you haven't really given me anything to respond to other than, study, motherfucker. Which, sure, okay, cool, I'll study. But, if you've got anything specific to point out, please just tell me. That was my exchange with Random Yoko. She actually came onto my Facebook. It was kind of awesome. It was exciting anyway. And that was kind of funny. I enjoyed that. Yeah. So Kenji saw that. A few people saw that. But that was funny. She's a YouTuber. She actually was in the original Next Up. But she's very politically active. Total respect for her. She's an extreme right-wing party, which was recently disbanded because it had only 1/20th the support of the Communist Party, and even they couldn't even win a seat down in Kyushu. Like even when 16 out of 20 candidates running down there would get seats, and it was completely bailed out. But yeah, I respect the fact that she is interested in all the stuff. And that she took the time to come and troll me on my own Facebook. I got a thrill out of it, so that was fun. Yes, I am disappointed. I disappoint. That's what I do. I'm good at that. The best gadgets in 2015. Do we even get into that? There's a thing about low production. This is an awesome photo. This photo is from straight out of Compton. This is taken from above the Compton crater on the moon, and see, only awesome stuff comes out of Compton. Now you know. Kelly Slater made this artificial tube, 100 miles inland, somewhere in the western California or whatever. Apart from the fact that it looks like he's swimming in sewage, the wave itself looks really, really good. I don't know if they can replicate these sort of things everywhere. Damn, I'd be up for that. So I really hope that they are able to do that. Sharp and Toshiba look like they're laying off heaps of people. They're having big problems. Toshiba, from its own, reaping what it sows pretty much through lying to their shareholders and misrepresenting their financials. Sharp, I feel really, really bad for. They're just, having a really tough business thing. So Shoot Tokyo used my music. He used Rembot Flow, which is I really like actually, that I made at a request for a YouTuber called Rembot, who does 3D sculpting, digital sculpting. And I made a track for her specifically, which I imagined for a time-lapse of 3D sculpting. And he put it for a video of Roppongi using the Osmo Steadicam gimbal thing, which is made by DJI, the drone makers. And super steady and cool and time-lapsey and around Roppongi and so on. And it was good music. And I'm sorry I put you to sleep, Sean, bro. I do that. It's okay. You can just leave it on, and if you have problems sleeping, I'll get you to sleep. Lysander 45, exactly. I'm sorry, for me that was like a thrill. I was excited. I was like, yes. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, even in sewage, for a wave like that, I would just wear a good suit, probably put duct tape over my asshole, and I would swim. Seriously, you look at that. That is a good wave. And believe me, I've swam in places that you know, like in surfing in some parts of Japan, the water quality isn't good in some places. But you still surf. In fact, I mean, I've surfed in front of before the accident, but right in front of Daiichi, the nuclear power plant that blew up, has the best surfing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I'm not shitting you. It is actually awesome there. Oh man, and see, we're already over time, and now we get to the story I wanted to talk about most, which is the economics of vlogging. You should read this. There's this article that's been put up on FusionNet, Gabby Dunn, just talking about how there are so many people who are now really committing to trying to make a living off YouTube. And you know, you see some YouTube channels out there like 500,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers even, and they are doing nothing but YouTube. They work so hard though, and you know, it is a really tough life. It's tough to get by. Plus, you're not an employee, so you know, you're at the mercy of kind of fashion and popularity and all this sort of stuff as well. So there's a little thing there. It's good. It's talking about some examples of some very big YouTubers, you know, and how tough it is to really live off YouTube. At the same time, though, I mean, you know, it's a platform, and the idea is that if you, the money's supposed to be, you know, it is great that there are people who can go out and earn a living off YouTube, but at the same time, for me, it's about making the hobby enjoyable and more accessible. You know, when they're not employees of Google. But there again, now that you have more people trying to live off YouTube, it is going to be interesting in future, perhaps, if people do like what the Uber drivers are doing and saying, well, we're owed like some treatment like employees. I don't see it going like that anytime soon, but it is interesting reading. I mean, there's a few things here which I put up featuring the harsh realities of internet fame. And this is what I was talking about Christmas. Angry single men stage anti-Christmas rally in Tokyo, saying that they're discriminating against, because of course Christmas is the time that Jesus went on a date and ate fried chicken. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of funny. I mean, and I always wonder exactly Himote Dome, this, even that sign in red there, you can sort of see it's a sign saying the union of men who cannot pull women. I feel you, dudes. I do. I believe me. I'm with you in moral spirit on that. But yes, Light Japan asked me a good question. Would I like to be a full-time YouTuber? And the answer to that is most definitely no. No, for me, this is an escape. I do this because it's fun, and my fear is if I ever tried to do this full-time, it would not be fun. And you know, I see people who make some of my favorite YouTubers, people like PDR. I'll talk about it again. I got a lot of man love for PDR. He is awesome, and he makes a living from YouTube. He works so damn hard. All the people, Megwin, how hard Megwin works, how hard, you know, PDR works. Even Hikakin, I'll even go Hikakin. Even the most successful people, it's not an easy thing at all. And you know, no, I wouldn't want to do this. I mean, if I could just do this and get like paid as much as I get paid for working just from doing this once a week, hey, that would be great. But that's not how it is. The other thing is, I know a lot of people who, you know, go on to the paid, the sponsored content route, which is almost like the dream come true for a lot of people. But again, you know, but then they have to produce content, you know, to order, and then they get all resentful that they don't have freedom anymore to make what they want to make. But that's the thing. If you want to get paid, you have to sacrifice some freedom, and you know. And for me, no, it's all about the freedom of being able to make what I want and do what I want. And you know, I for that I treat it as a hobby and treat everything as a bonus. It is a crazy amount of work indeed. And for me, it's about interacting with you guys. ASCII Island. Yeah, well, that's like a meme of PDR, which I kind of enjoy. I don't really care one way or the other about the guy, but it is kind of funny. So yes, and that's right, Ambel. Stu in Tokyo with Megwin, the ninja thing was like mind blowing, and I couldn't tell Stu enough times. And I met the people from Yummy Japan who sponsored and you know, helped produce that. Mind blowingly good, actually. So yeah, but for the people who are really working at it, they can. But no, I would not want to do YouTube full time, even if I could, which I can't. You have to be popular and good looking and talented. And no, but I like what I do. I like this. This is good. This is good. And I'll talk about my goals for next year. I've already got a few. I mean, a few. I'll give you a heads up. I mean, I do want to make one video a week in Japanese now. So I do want to do that. I do want to, those guys, I want to take that to the next level a little bit and plan that out a little bit more. Do some other stuff. The final story, I think this is the final story that I've got here for today. This is it, is, this I've mentioned before about this foreign apprentice system, which is basically a slave labor system where most of the people are abused. There's a record number of people running away and disappearing under the system. The analysis by the government on this is that the main cause seems to be the fact that they have access to smartphones. Indeed, they actually find out what their human rights are and they can escape, which is terrible because no one wants their slaves to have smartphones so they can run away. But that seems to be what's happening. Herb Toka, Charlotte in Japan would be great as a full-time YouTuber. I think she's pretty close to that. In fact, I'm not sure if she is or not. I think she still does have a day job. But yeah, but again, she's a great example as well. You know, you got Michaela, you got My Husband is Japanese, PDR, Charlotte, all of those people who are on the precipice that they are almost working and surviving purely on doing YouTube, but at the same time, you know, they work really hard and they struggle, and you know, they struggle to just barely get there. So and I think that's why they were sharing a lot of these articles when these were going around during this week. So that is my time up. What do you reckon for music? Do I do music? 5 minutes? Do you reckon I should make something? Yes, the peasants are revolting, but they're the best that we could get on short notice. I'm sorry, that's an old bad joke, but indeed. Lysander 45, thank you for sending that up. Should I make a track? Why don't I make a track? It might be crap. I might just delete it. I was just playing around with something before. I've been listening to. I've been kind of hooked on. What is it? Bomb Funk and MCs, which sounds a lot like something else. But freestyling. Gabriel Subculture on Facebook posts a lot of awesome music, and I've been listening to that all week, and that has been awesome, and I love that. So. Tell you what, let me connect up the music-y stuff, and shall I make something? Let's make something. Give me a style. In fact, I was playing with something a little bit earlier, so let me kick into this, and this will be my outro before the last one for 2015, and then I will make some more music over the New Year's, and I will see you guys early next year. Let me just check this is coming through. Don't want that. Okay. I need more of a beat on that, so what should I do for a beat? That's pretty cool. Let's try. That's too much. That's not bad, but that's not what I wanted. Okay, not like that. Let's try some low Korea. Get that D. Beats or bass. Let's just try regular. In fact, let's not even do that. Let's go. Why did I do that? This is keepable. That'd be the end of 2015. There we go. So that is me. That is the end of 2015. For I'm going to play around. That was kind of cool. I actually quite like the groove that I started to get with that. So I'm going to hold on to that, and I will tidy that up over the new year. So maybe you'll hear that when I'm also going to go and learn iMachine. I'm going to go and up the Tokyo Digital Crew stuff, and maybe get some caps and shirts and stuff like that. It's been a great 2015. It's been great having you guys with me for this 2015. I really love that you guys come and let me chat with you and go through all of the stuff that I like to talk about every Sunday night. We're going to be back on Sunday nights, of course, for 2016, bigger and stronger than ever before. There's going to be some Japanese, there's going to be more music, there's going to be more shenanigans, as there always are. There's going to be a big 2015 year in review. Probably, I should be doing that today, but it will be at the start of 2016, I guess. It'll be probably while I'm in Australia, and I'm going to record it while I'm over there. But, obviously, even one more. I think that's a good thing. I think it could be BB-8 and R2-D2. There you go. It's been great seeing you all, and I hope you guys all have a very good Merry Christmas if that's your thing, and if not, a very happy end of the year anyway. I'm going to be away for 2 weeks, and I'm going to be back before you know it. So everyone have a great break. I'm going to have a great break. I'm going to be back in Australia enjoying great food and sunshine and swimming pools and movie stars. And it's going to be great. So I will see you all in the new year, and all you guys have a great end of year, and thanks for joining me again, and peace. Bada bing. And check my SoundCloud. I'm going to play around with that and probably upload it into something at some point. Okay, see you later. There's the comments. And there is the button that I pressed to end it. Finishes here. Stop streaming. Boom. Oh, and